you?
Yep, I think so. It should be going now. Yep.
Cool. So shall we begin? And hi everyone, and hope everyone is keeping warm and dry. And for those I haven't met before, I'm Nila Wen from Flinders University. And this year I'm co-chairing this HDR Industry Engagement Community of Practice, or COP, with Simon Calusi from UNSW. And some of you may be new to the COP and have connected with us through QPR earlier this year and recent ARMS Professional Development Workshop, or through a COP member. If that's you, a very warm welcome. The purpose of this COP is really quite simple. Rather than each institution tackling the same opportunities and challenges independently, we can learn together and support each other as a collective. And Simon, can I please have my next slide? Thank you. And before we begin, I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the lands on which we are all meeting today across Australia. I pay my respects to elders past and present and extend that respect to all First Nations peoples joining us today. And next, please, Simon. Just a quick walk everyone through today's agenda as well. Today, we are very lucky to hear from a few universities, UQ, Uni Sunshine Coast, QUT, and Adelaide Uni, who will be sharing practical examples of managing HDR internships from both the software system and the student training and experience perspectives. And we will also touch on ARMS conference this year and NIPHD round 7 outcomes and round 8 applications as usual, and leave some space for any other business before we close if there's time. And next, please, Simon. And I also want to briefly acknowledge QPR 2026. It was really lovely to catch up with some of you there. And it was definitely very energizing to connect face to face. Also very wonderful to see many great presentations by our COP members. One thing that I really regret from QPR though is that we were so busy with chats, food, lollies, and chocolates at the lunch catch up, and we forgot to take a proper group photo. And all I had was this photo from the panel discussion. We'll definitely have to take a proper photo next time. That's a reminder for myself for next time. So, all right, I think I shall now hand over the time to Simon to take us into the showcase presentations, and let's enjoy our time with our speakers. And again, thank you so much to all of our speakers to make themselves available during this very busy season. So thank you, and all to you, Simon.
Okay, thanks very much, Nila. So look, we've got 4 presentations today. I think it's going to be really interesting to hear from everybody. We'll get straight into it, and hopefully we'll have some time for questions after each presentation and definitely at the end. But Locke, I believe, no, University of Sunshine Coast. So that's you, Catherine, is that correct?
Jody.
Jody, sorry, I'm getting a bit confused. There's so many presentations. Okay, right. Jody, we're going to have you first from University of Sunshine Coast. So, look, I've got your slides up. Do you want to just let me know when you want me to change?
Yeah, thanks, Simon. I can do.
Yep. Okay, cool.
I timed myself, and I got to about 10 minutes and 30 seconds if I talk fast. So.
Okay, look, take your time. It's all good. It's all good. All right.
Hello, I'm Jodie Winning, University of the Sunshine Coast. I wanted to share a bit about how we've adapted our existing WIL platform, Sonia, to manage our HDR internships, and just how we've been able to leverage our established system to be able to create a practical, scalable and sustainable internship management framework. Thanks, Simon. So before looking at the solution, I guess it's useful to share the context. So like many of yourselves, we found ourselves needing to establish a HDR internship process quite quickly. And our challenge was that we had no dedicated internship staff within our graduate research school and no budget for developing a new system. So instead, we had to look at what we already had. We had an experienced central WIL team. We had an established institutional platform in Sonia. And we had strong support and buy-in from our IT and student information systems area. And we also had academic staff who were familiar with the Sonia platform through managing their undergraduate coursework placements. And we also had me. So I'm new to research. At the time of becoming involved in HDR internships, I was working in WIL as a placement officer with about 15 years of placement management experience from the WIL space that I'm now applying to a research environment. So together with these existing resources, this provided the foundation for our solution. Thanks, Simon. So having identified both our challenges and our available resources, we stepped back a bit and examined something more fundamental, and that was, what is the DNA of an internship? So at its core, we saw that a HDR internship for us connects three stakeholders: the candidate, the industry partner, and the academic supervisor. Undergraduate placements operate in much the same way. So they link a student, a host, and a course coordinator. And what became clear for us was that there is a significant amount of shared DNA between the two. And for that reason, leveraging a system that was already designed to support coursework WIL activities made perfect sense for us. Thanks, Simon. So we recognised our shared DNA, and the next question for us was quite simple. How do we take our WIL placement system and make it work for research? So we took a close look at Sonia's capabilities and we explored how they could be adapted to support internships. So Sonia serves as a repository for agreements and documentation, and this is now expanded to include internship agreements, intellectual property, etc., etc. Sonia allows us to manage relationships with industry partners by maintaining organisational records, contacts, engagement history, and more importantly for us, we can also track non-reportable and engagement activities such as candidate employment and co-funding partners, which gives us a more broader view of industry relationships and not just internships. Through our integrations with our wellbeing, our safety and our security teams, Sonia is able to support the health, safety and risk management processes. So this ensures our candidates receive the same level of support as undergraduate students do. Our platform also integrates with PeopleSoft. So this allows us to access key candidate information, which enables us to monitor eligibility requirements and communicate with targeted groups of students. Sonia also supports risk assessments and compliance requirements. And one of the significant advantages for us in using the same system across both undergraduate placements and internships is that we're often working with the same industry partners. So from the partner's perspective, consistency is important. We want to streamline the processes and minimise duplication for them wherever possible. So for example, if we've got an engineering organisation that's already completed a risk assessment for us as part of hosting undergraduate placements, much of that information can often be leveraged to support HDR internship activities as well. So it creates an efficiency for both the university and for the industry partner, while still maintaining the appropriate governance and compliance standards. Thanks, Simon. Thank you. So all this considered, I thought it might be more useful to move from the conceptual side of why we've done this to how we do this, and just give you a brief overview of how the internship management platform actually looks like for us in practice. So this is just a screenshot of our Sonia landing page, and we have a number of functions available to us, including student records, sites, industry contacts, placement groups, academic supervisors, forms, workflows, and scholarships. Thanks, Simon. So to bring that to life, I'll briefly show you how we use this in practice. So student records are populated through our PeopleSoft integrations. This allows us to monitor candidature dates, milestones, emergency contact information. The sites provides us a database of current and prospective internship hosts, while the industry contacts allows us to maintain the contacts associated with those sites. And that sort of contact profile can also move to other organisations when these individuals sort of have career shifts. And this is particularly relevant for us when we're talking about bigger sort of government departments, Queensland Health, for example, where you might have staff move between sort of hospital sites and facilities and things like that. We use placement groups to organise by reportable and non-reportable activities. And this supports our institutional reporting. And we also utilise placement groups to manage targeted communication groups with candidates. So for example, we have a placement group of students who've expressed an interest, so we can sort of work with that group to progress them into internships. Another important feature we have is the ability to map and record the relationship between the academic supervisor, the candidate, and the industry partner. So we found this particularly valuable for us from a relationship management perspective. Academic staff often have long established connections with their industry partners, and our role really is just to support and strengthen those relationships. So by recording which academic has been the connection and primary contact with a particular organisation, we can ensure continuity, we can respect those existing partnerships and conversations, and we can follow those established engagement protocols. This information also allows us to identify highly engaged and successful academic supervisors. So from a capability building perspective, this creates opportunities for mentoring workshops and PD activities that can support early research or newer colleagues who are newer to internship engagement. Another area that we make extensive use of within Sonia is forms. So we currently have a candidate expression of interest form to register their interest in an internship, and we have an internship application form which formalises the arrangements once the research proposal's been identified and developed. The final area that I'd like to mention is scholarships. This is one of our newer areas of development within the platform, and we're currently exploring how this functionality can be used to better capture invoicing and financial transactions associated with the internship relationships. So our aim is to build a more complete picture of engagement with industry stakeholders and investment partners. And over time, this will help us identify key collaborators, better understand patterns of engagement, and ensure that we are directing our resources towards building and strengthening our valuable industry relationships. So together, these functions give us a centralised system for internship administration, relationship management, compliance, and communication. Thanks, Simon. So just to wrap up, and mindful of time, and we've got a few people to hear from today, I'd just like to briefly highlight what's working well for us and where we see opportunities for growth and some key challenges that we continue to navigate. So what's working well? One of our biggest successes has been leveraging the existing infrastructure rather than reinventing the wheel. So by adapting systems and processes that were already established within the university, we've been able to customise and implement a HDR internship management system quite quickly and efficiently. Another strength has been the cross-functional collaboration with our undergraduate WIL colleagues. Having shared ownership of the platform means we don't feel like we're operating in isolation, and we're able to benefit from the expertise, systems and processes that are already developed. A real practical example of this is managing mandatory compliance requirements for students undertaking internships in settings such as Queensland Health, for example. So when you're dealing with requirements like criminal history checks, working with children checks, vaccination evidence, when you've got students going into clinical settings, there's already systems and processes that exist within the university to manage and capture this documentation and compliance. And so we've been able to build on those rather than recreate. We've also found significant value in having a centralised relationship management system. So really allowing us to see the bigger picture when it comes to industry engagement, and just recognising that many relationships span across undergraduate placements into HDR internships and other forms of collaboration. So it gives us a much more comprehensive view of our industry partnerships and the contributions that those organisations are making across the broader university. Thanks, Simon. So looking ahead, the biggest opportunity for us is to really explore automation through workflows. We're already using Sonia quite effectively for processes such as the EOI form and the application form, but there's a lot more potential to automate activities such as reminder notifications, milestone communications, approval processes, and partner onboarding as well. We're also interested in developing a self-reporting option for internships. So for example, if a candidate might already be employed in industry and their role meets the internship eligibility requirements, there may be opportunities for them to sort of self-identify and nominate that activity through a streamlined Sonia process rather than progressing through a traditional expression of interest pathway. Another area for development is just improved industry engagement analytics. So we're capturing a significant amount of data about organisations, contacts, and engagement activity, and there's a real opportunity here to use that data more strategically to better understand these relationships, trends, and future partnerships. And finally, sort of mentioned earlier, we're continuing to explore ways to strengthen our financial and scholarship tracking within the platform, just to give us a better understanding of investment and funding relationships. Thanks, Simon. So I guess with many institutions, our ongoing challenge is probably very similar, and that's just balancing growth and innovation with limited resources and competing priorities. So we're very conscious of ensuring that our processes remain quite simple and user-friendly, but still meet our governance, compliance, and reporting requirements. I think overall our experience has shown that leveraging these existing WIL infrastructure, expertise and partnerships can provide a real practical and sustainable foundation for internship management. And our approach has always been just to ensure that we've got this scalable framework that supports candidates, supervisors, and industry partners alike. So this is me. My contact details are up there. Would welcome any collaboration because this is a new space for all of us. But yeah, would love to hear from anyone else who might be particularly using Sonia or even, in place, and just sort of share others' perspectives as well. So please, yeah, feel free to get in contact if you'd like to. But that's me. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. That was amazing. I'm pretty jealous of where you guys are at.
Thank you, Simon.
So I think it's really great. Look, I think I was just speaking to Nila on the chat. I think that we might just get through all of the presentations before we do direct questions, but please save your questions up and/or put them in the chat so that we can get to them at the end.
I'm happy to sort of, if there's anything direct that I can sort of answer in the chat too, I'll be online for the whole meeting as well. So
okay, cool. So I think now it's Locke, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay,
for another
cool.
system in place. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joe.
So and sorry, Locke, you're going to you've got your own slides, is that correct?
Yeah, just give me 1 second.
Okay, so I'll stop sharing and you can take control, and I think I've given you presenter access.
Yes, and I guess the rest of the speakers all share their own screen later as well.
Yeah. Cool, we can see that.
All right. Can everyone see this?
Yep.
All right, well, hello everyone. I'm Locke. I'm the Industry Placement Coordinator from UQ. Thank you for having me. It's my first time attending this session and presenting as well, so great. So yeah, I'll walk you through very quickly our overview of what we do at UQ here and give you the complete life cycle of an HDR placement. And it's integrated through InPlace, Unitask, RightNow, CRM, and Signet. So let's take a high-level operation environment of how it works. So at the core of our operation is InPlace. It serves as our single source of truth, and it's where the student placement data lives, where hosts provide information is executed, and where automated communications are triggered, and where final outcomes are permanently logged. However, it doesn't operate alone. It functions along 3 supporting platforms, which is Unitask, which handles the initial brief submissions and academic endorsements, the RightNow CM, which manages external host communications and relationship tracking, and Signet, where we official Australian TCSI reporting and student transcripts are formally updated. Understanding these platforms connect is essential for ensuring a seamless experience for both our students and our industry partners. Moving on to the submission and initial approvals. So every successful placement begins long before students step onto our premises. The process is initiated in the Unitask, where the student or the placement officer submits their initial project brief. This undergoes through check against our standard operational guidelines. Once verified, it's been briefed to our Deputy Dean for endorsement, and which ensures the placement aligns with the student's degree objectives. Simultaneous behind the scenes, we work to get the placement agreements or deeds done and generated and executed with the host organization. Once approved, we move on to step 2, where we set up and confirmation directly onto InPlace. So as you can see, we start with the navigating, we manage provider, and if missing, we provide all the necessary information. 2, we create the supervisor under personnel and attach them directly to provider for easy communication in the future. 3, we place the placement generation, add new items, and we can vary the duration, the allocation group, and project title accordingly. And finally, we set the placement center to confirm and link the host supervisor. Oops. So moving on to that, our step 3 is where we get to the offer and the official acceptance. Once its mark is confirmed, we issue the official placement offer letter directly to the student through InPlace using placement management, which goes through confirmation and student notification. When the student reviews and submit their formal written acceptance, we execute this and we log into our sign-in and record the engagement code. This ensures our institutional reporting aligns with national higher standard educational requirements. Once the placement date arrives, we move to step 4. So I want to note that this is something that we are currently working on, and it's a campaign that we in the process of doing. We should be rolling this out, I'll say, within a month or so. So basically, we ensure students are supported from day one without creating excessive manual administrative work. InPlace utilizes an automated touch point. As soon as this date hits, the commencement check-in is sent to them, and it goes through different stages such as commencement, midway, completion report, and it directly aligns to all the relevant host parties and stakeholders. So here, finally, we reach step 5, which is the completion, assessment, and official closure. This phase follows a structured timeline. So 2 weeks prior to completion, InPlace automatically sends out an evaluation link, a reflection report to the student, and a performance assessment to the host organization. And then once the compilation, once both submissions are received, our staff behind the scenes will put it into a consolidated PDF packet, which is sent to the dean for sign-off. And upon final closure, the placement status is completed as a pass, and a letter is issued, and the academic record is recorded and signed and updated for transcript assurance. So that was just a brief overview of things. Now that we can get into it, we want to discuss about what's working well for us and the key successes so far with InPlace. So I'm new to this role. I've been here about 3 months. And so it's a lot of learning as well. And it really encapsulates every stage of the student placement journey into one, and eliminates the fragmented records and boosting administrative visibility. As I mentioned, we do have the flexible templates, which we are going to utilize. And this ensures that all the automated emails maintain professional policy compliant messaging while remaining easy to update. So this is a good feature to help us with just getting all the students on board. And lastly, I want to go through things that current challenges and areas for growth. So from my personal opinion, as someone who's quite new to InPlace specifically for UQ, I have worked with InPlace before in other environments. I would say because InPlace is so comprehensive, it can be a bit overwhelming to new staff at the beginning, but I would say it's all worth it at the end. Number 2 is the system requires precise adherence to order. For instance, creating personnel before updating placement statuses, which leave little margin for error. So it has rigid sequential steps. And another thing is, at the moment, it has a cross-system friction where you're navigating across different systems such as Unitas in place right now, SINAT, which requires deliberate attention to avoid data silos. So addressing these friction points through clear documentation and tagging remains a key point priority for our team, which we are consistently working on. So, to wrap this up, the integrated workflow provides a strong foundation for managing HDR placements, protecting both students' outcomes and institutional compliance. There are other areas we will continue to explore to work within place, and there are areas where we'll try to recognize the challenges. So it's very nice to hear from USQ regarding Sonia that there were certain steps that can be functioned. And yes, so as the same, here are my contact details, and I would love to hear from anyone as well. Please shoot me an email if you have any relation to anything you want to discuss here. And anyone else that's using InPlace, please let me know. And that's it. Thank you.
Thanks heaps, Locke. That's great. Great. Okay, so Catherine, are you ready to jump straight in?
Yes, I'll just share my
Yep.
screen.
Okay, cool.
Okay, hopefully you can
Cool.
see that now. Yep. Okay, thank you. So hi everyone, I'm Katie. I work at in the HDR internship and industry engagement space at QUT, along with my colleague Dr. Shastra Deo, who's joining me online today. So we're here to talk to you about preparing HDR students to be internship ready. Just as we get started, I'd like to acknowledge that I'm, and Shasha as well, are joining you from the lands of the Turrbal and the Yagara people today, who are the First Nations owners of this land. And acknowledging that this place has always been important for teaching and learning for the First Nations owners, and that sovereignty has never been ceded. Okay, so when we think about preparing students for internships, we kind of think about it in, there's two main stages really. The first is all about candidature development and internship preparation that happens before they even receive an internship. And this typically starts, day one with their orientation. And then we also have the internship preparation that happens just prior to their internship commencement. And this for us is handled through our internship module, and that covers important information, pre-selection, setting learning goals. So I'm going to talk to you today about these two separate parts, these two separate stages, and what we kind of do with both of them, because I think both approaches are really important, but also they're very complementary to each other. So the first thing to mention is that QUT runs eGrad School Australia, which is a series of online modules that students from all over Australia can access. Some of your universities I know are already signed up for it, and that has a range of preparation within there of different skills development. But in particular, we have the Preparing for Your HDR Internship module. Now this runs once a year, and it's a really good kind of a primer for students to start to think about internships generally, as well as the broader application of their research, what that might be. And so they can really start thinking early about an internship and making a plan. Now, students do this module over 5 weeks, once a year, and they do it, it's QUT students as well as students from across Australia who have signed up. And if you're interested in that, you can reach out to us. So that module kind of sets them up early to thinking about internships. But it's just one part of the broader skills development that we do at QUT. So we're trying to prepare our students as early as possible, like from orientation, to think about internships and industry experiences. But we're doing that because, if they're preparing for like an internship, they're also preparing to be job ready at the end, whether they want to go into academia or industry. So the training that we do to prepare them involves like online modules. There's the eGrad School work modules, there's also in-person workshops that are held. And then in addition to that, there's also other sort of lower touch experiences that they can participate in that we have like a through line about how that connects to internships and bigger industry experiences. So that's things like our mentoring programs. We also offer placements to students, as well as things like 3MT. And we're kind of working with students throughout candidature to connect it all into the bigger picture. The last part of the candidate development that we do with them is internship awareness training itself. So Shastra and I run workshops for students throughout the year, as well as sessions for staff. And this is to train them in internships, to get an understanding of what they are, but also how they can leverage their contacts and prepare for the internship experience if they're a student. We've also recently embedded questions about internships and industry engagement into all of the candidature forms, starting from like confirmation. So it's always there, kind of front of mind, preparing for students with their awareness of the things that they can undertake during candidature. The main thing we're going to talk today about, though, is the internship module that we run. So this is undertaken by students once they have an internship offer, and it's a mandatory requirement. So this module came about back in 2018 due to TEXA and QT requirements about students needing to be supported in a range of ways throughout their industry engagement activities, including the importance of learning support, reflection and assessment, and risk management and induction. So the development of this module was really informed and influenced by the work of Stephen Billett, particularly around trying to ensure alignment between like the intended, enacted, and experienced curriculum, as well as other key work integrated learning researchers and practitioners and best practice guidelines. I think similar to Jodie, my background is in work integrated learning when I came into this space, and I brought that knowledge with me. So it's mandatory, like I said, and it's divided into 3 parts. So the internship module covers sort of the lifespan of the internship. So the pre-internship tasks and requirements. It also covers what they need to do during the internship in terms of weekly check-ins, as well as then encompassing the post-internship activities, reflection, assignment aspects of it. And we actually make sure that they have completed all the pre-internship tasks before they're allowed to start their internship. But I'm just going to be talking mostly about only about the pre-internship tasks side of it today. So the pre-internship section itself is also broken up into 3 sections. It's looking at a section on preparing for their internship. And this is the benefits of internships and how it applies to the students, as well as getting them to self-assess their skills that they have so far, how they'll be of use on an internship, and then what they want to develop further. We also look at setting their learning goals. So they create their own development plan to make the most out of their internship experience, as well as helping them look at their rights, responsibilities, and safety on an internship. So under preparing for their internship, it's a series of like pre-flexion primers and activities. So it's getting them to really think about, why is their internship valuable? By priming them with sort of what the generic benefits of an internship are, but getting them to think about it in terms of how it relates to them and what they're hoping to get out of it and how it works for their particular situation and discipline and stage of life. And they do this because it's really priming them to set their learning goals that they then use as the basis of their reflection activity at the end. So as part of this, they also set their learning goals. Now, the learning goals that they set are individual to the student and their unique development goals. They do it based on a sort of what, why, how model, and then the SMART goals we use, it fits under the how section of that. Now, these learning goals sit alongside the project goals. So in most sort of internship agreements and plans, there are the goals of what the project itself aims to do, like what the tasks the students will be doing, but we want the students to go deeper and think about what they themselves want to get out of it and how they're going to learn and evolve throughout the process. These learning goals sit alongside the goals and they come back to them. So we ask them that when they do their weekly check-ins with their academic mentors, that they are doing those check-ins with their learning goals in mind. And we also ask them to speak to these learning goals in their mid and final internship presentations, as well as the post-internship reflection. Now, these learning goals are flexible and they can change as the internship develops, and they typically evolve over time. So, for example, if a student says that they've checked off their a learning goal by their mid-internship presentation, then we often ask them to go further or think about other goals that they might want to achieve, or think about how they can go deeper with that goal and develop further for the rest of the internship. Then we also have the last section of our preparation for placement is their rights, responsibilities, and safety. And this is like the risk management component of the module. So it covers a wide range of topics that students need to be informed about or aware of prior to starting their internship. So it covers workplace risks and risk management strategies. And this includes what to do if an incident occurs during an internship, who to contact, which is, Shastra and I, and, what to do, make sure they get home safely, that sort of thing. But importantly, everything's framed around rights and responsibilities. So when we're talking about risk and risk management strategies, we're framing it in terms of what are the students' rights, responsibilities, but also what the industry partners' responsibilities are in the internship experience. It also covers things like the on-site induction requirements, any work from home information that's relevant to them if they're doing part of the internship from home, as well as what to do if an incident occurs. The module also covers things like confidentiality, making sure that they're aware of what their confidentiality requirements are for their internship, and then just broader legal requirements. Intellectual property, so it covers the difference between, say, assigning or licensing their IP and making sure that they're aware of that difference, and in particular as it relates to their specific internship arrangement. We also cover off things like conflicts of interest, including how it relates to things like disclosure requirements, so what they would have to disclose to us around conflicts of interest. Students' rights and responsibilities. So these are the broader rights and responsibilities they have on an internship, and their disclosure requirements. And these aren't just around conflicts of interest, but there might be, health and safety, disability with disclosure, responsibilities and requirements. There's some things they have to disclose to us and other things where they get to make a judgment call on. We also cover topics they should be aware of in the workplace. So things like modern slavery, the insurance and what's covered under that for QT, as well as broader assistance and support that's available. So we make sure that we're priming them around any financial difficulties that might arise when they're on an internship, because, even if they're on a scholarship ordinarily, they're often undertaking sort of sessional work they might not be able to do when they're on an internship. So it's getting them to think ahead about these things, as well as letting them know the support available for that. So, we have bursaries that we cover, as well as sort of other support that is available to them as a QT student throughout their internship. So that's I've kind of raced through that, but that's the broad way that we go about preparing students at QUT for internships. There's a lot in there. Please let me know if you have any questions at the end.
That was amazing. Thank you so much. And I'm incredibly impressed by what all of you people are doing. I'm going to move on to Mark, and then we can hopefully have some questions at the end. So please write down anything you haven't put in the chat already, everyone. We should have maybe 7 minutes left at the end. So you go for it, Mark and Polly. It's all yours now, okay?
Is that visible to everyone? Fantastic. Oh, sorry. Polly and I'll be talking briefly about the I guess, administration of internships, and specifically the process post commencement, how we manage internships. I should say from the outset that based on the presentations that we've heard today, a lot of our practices are very similar, and I think this is a good sign that, I guess, across the industry, we're seeing a lot of levelling out, best practices emerging. Now, we're fortunate at the newly formed Adelaide University that we've had, oh, sorry, I don't know if you can hear that. I've got a dog sitting next to me that wants to have her say as well. Yeah, we've always been fairly well resourced at Adelaide, I should say, since the merger of the two universities at the start of this year. Our numbers have dropped a bit, but we're very fortunate to have 2 FTEs, myself and my colleague Polly, who's going to be speaking afterwards. And we're able to oversee different components of the internship program. Though, as far as administration goes of the projects, we have very similar, I guess, processes, regardless of whether it's a standalone project, internship and industry embed, or an internship embedded in a scholarship program, or national industry PhD, something like that. Our team provides end-to-end support to both students and partner organisations, and this spans from engagement of the partners in the first place, business development, through to completion and, I guess, establishment of future projects. So just very quickly, I'll touch upon the support that we give to students. And again, it sounds like our Preparing for Your Research internship course is very similar to what we see at the other universities, but we offered to researcher training module. And I bring this up because while this is an important resource for students prior to the internship, this is in many ways also the sort of touch point during the placement itself as well. While we can provide operational support, our internship module, and I assume many institutions are the same, it actually provides those resources that students need to be able to navigate problems during the placement. So while this is a mandatory course and it provides all of the same information that we've already just seen, compliance, risk management, it does include handouts, links, and also what I think is actually the most useful component, interactive scenarios. And I think these are taken from the undergraduate internship program, but these are sort of scenarios that students can work through around intellectual property concerns, conflicts of interest in the workplace. And we can direct students to these if they do have questions, or if they as guidance for addressing any concerns that they have. And I should say from the outset that this is work that is constantly being revised. As all of you will know, there's always some unintended or unexpected issues on placements. We have had projects where students have had to navigate difficult conversations with their industry partners around intellectual property ownership, recreating or replicating work in their thesis, things like this. And to an extent, we've had to revise the training that we've given to sort of deal with these issues. It's obviously not a desirable outcome, but in many ways it does, I guess, keep us on our toes and ensure that we're constantly updating to ensure that we're meeting best practices. And one other thing I'll talk about very quickly is our partner, the support that we provide partner organisations. So as I mentioned, we provide end-to-end support, and this includes 2 industry partners. So as for myself and Polly, we actually work in different areas. Well, we're both embedded in the Adelaide Graduate Research School, but Polly actually also sits in the WIL team. And we're also engaged with the other central business areas. Again, I know, like many of you, so we work with the business development team to establish new partnerships. We're sometimes contacted by the central business areas or the WIL team to establish PhD projects with priority or strategic partners. So for this reason, we are involved with business development and to ensure that our needs are met outside of will and research contracting. We actually operate and manage our own website portals and I guess a sort of concierge system, quite apart from those other established industry engagement infrastructure within the university. So we've got, we can create specialised forms for project establishment. If we have a partner who comes to us, we can fast track, I guess, public advertising of projects by enabling them to go onto the form, submitting the details. We can connect them, well, if they don't have connections within the university, if they provide us with information, we will take that then, it's automated through to us, and we will connect them with students or academics within the institution. So yeah, we really act as this sort of liaison in some ways with between industry and other areas of the university. And this continues through to after the placements as well, particularly for partners where there is no established partnership with the university. It often falls on our team to work with the partners to try and establish new projects. And in a lot of cases with internships, they are quite pleased to take on more students. So it's sort of a an ongoing partnership building as part of our general responsibilities as managing internships. And it's been quite successful, always challenges, but we're thrilled with the outcomes over the past 3 or 4 years since the program was established. And I'll pass on to Polly because she'll talk a bit more about the direct support we provide to students, which is the most important part.
Thank you, Mark. Hi, everyone. So I guess I'll briefly discuss how we support students kind of from that midway point through to the end of their internships. And I've also included in the presentation just a really high-level overview of our internship process. We think that it really contributes to the smooth journey that our students and industry partners experience. I'd love to share it with you as well. So I guess here on the left, we've got our midpoint check-in. So once the student has started their internship, we've made it a mandatory process that they self-complete an online form. It is a one-page form. You'll see it's really, really brief. We're obviously conscious that the PhD students are already under the pump, but it's a great way to ensure we do our due diligence. We flag, that there's no red flags. Give the students the chance to privately express how their internships are going. And just to give you some context as to how we've improved this process, when the program started 4 years ago, we were manually emailing students. Obviously, our numbers weren't as high as well, but we were just simply asking them how the internship was progressing. And the response rate really wasn't good because, it wasn't embedded as a compulsory process for them. And I suppose they didn't really feel the urgency to reply to us. Although introducing the self-completed, online form is an additional step for them, you'll see it's not overly time consuming. The response rate has been really high and the process has worked well for us, especially from the point that the student has a chance to update us on whether their internship end date has changed. And obviously, if it has, we will then flow that onto the scholarships team, who then update their records, and don't have to chase things up unnecessarily from their end. I'll then jump to the end of the internship. We simply ask students to complete a reflection form. There's really 2 parts to the reflection form. The first being that the student informally, verbally reflects on their internship experience with their academic supervisors. And the second being that the student obtains signatures from their industry partner in regards to the 60 business day requirement being met. This process has also worked really well for us because it informs the academic supervisor of the student's internship journey, and supervisors we've found are more likely to host and be supportive of the internships, once they see how advantageous the internship is for a PhD student. The form is also compulsory, so we find the response rate really to be positive. Next slide, please, Mark. Thanks. Okay. So I thought I'd share with you all, and this is what I share with students as well when I host an introductory webinar, is our overview of the internship process as it currently stands. We've obviously gone through a merger, and as things, have stabilized, we will continue to automate our processes. But whilst our various amount of systems are being embedded, it's so important to have a structured process to ensure that our students and industry partners really aren't impacted, and that we can give them a really positive relationship irrespective of any internal changes happening. We currently have, approximately 155 students undertaking an internship and have received quite positive, student and industry partner feedback with return industry partners who continue to, offer internships that we can advertise for them, that continue to be guest speakers in our other initiatives. So I guess I'm positive that we can take this high level process you're looking at and fully automate this, continue scaling our internship program into the future. Look, I'm conscious of time, so I guess I'll leave it at that. But yeah, happy to move forward for questions to everyone. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. That was great. Everyone's just entering in the number 155 into the chat simultaneously. Okay, so just give everyone a second. Does anyone have? Okay, we've got a number of questions in the chat. We've got 5 minutes left. Nila, is there anything we need to cover before we get to questions?
You know what? I think we'll just skip the NI PhD talk. It's probably
Yeah,
just same
absolutely.
old, same old. It's probably better that we allow more time for any questions
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the
If
congregation.
anyone wants to if anyone wants to debrief or have any sort of like conversation trying to help with the NI PhD trauma, then please get in touch and we can deal with that separately. But let's just ask some questions about the presentations first, okay?
And it looks like all the questions in the chat are all answered. Is there any question that hasn't been answered that you would like to unmute yourself to ask any of the speakers?
Look, I'll just ask my question. Doreen, you go on. You
I
go
do
for it.
have some questions too. Yeah, I'll
Yep.
just let others
Sorry.
ask.
And thank you all. That was actually really, really interesting, especially the systems ones, because as I said before, so I'm from Adelaide, Adelaide University as well. I work with Mark and Polly. We've tried actually both. We've tried Sonia and in-place implementation. More serious with Sonia a couple of years ago, and with in-place now as part of the merger, which was probably a little bit half-baked. But we really struggle, and I understand that you can separate the HDRs within Sonia or within in-place as well. But our problem is more of the outside world, because we are part of the HDR are part of the research portfolio. The research portfolio, like the grants offices, the research agreements offices, research legal. So all of these areas are really research focused. And so we have to, the student system is a research student system where we store all of our records. So we can't really get anything into a will one, because will is the undergrad and coursework from the records and the agreements and the negotiations and the templates of agreements. So we can't really use this because we are so embedded in research. So the research part doesn't let us do this. So we need all the agreements being executed by the research portfolio. So and this is and maybe this is just because we are such a research intensive university, and the research portfolio is so big and so prominent and so dominant, probably because this is our problem. So we need all of these things that you guys do in in-place and Sonia, but we need them kind of within the research systems, within the research context, within the research contact management, what is the relationship management systems that we have, but also in the recording of records. So this is what I'm just curious about. And maybe it's just because you are more student focused and your research is not as dominant as ours, but that's what I was curious, how you get your research, because we report, research activities, we report the completions against research students. So I was just really curious how you navigate between that you actually need all of this information in the research part of the university. And maybe it's harder to respond to, and I'm fine with it too.
I don't mind having a go. We still have our research legal areas. We still have like PeopleSoft as our student information system. I guess we sort of have put the lens on Sonia Online as being sort of our relationship management system, and just having a look at it from the DNA sort of perspective of what's an undergraduate placement and what's a HDR internship placement, and just having it as that sort of central, almost conduit to sort of bring all the pieces from our other, Office of Research, legal, wherever, just into that one central repository for us. So we're still double handling a little bit, but we can just know that we've got our internships well reflected in that single point of information.
Okay, thanks, Locke. Okay, thanks, Jody. Look, I had a question in the chat that I'll just ask here. I mean, with working with Will, I think one of the things that might have been a barrier for us was sort of undergraduate style of internships, or the content not being necessarily appropriate for a research training level. Has that been something that that has occurred? Has that been a question that you've had to address or manage? Any of you?
Yes, Simon, I can probably take this one because it happens quite a lot.
Yep.
We have a partner that might come to us. They might have never hosted before. They're brand new, like an SME, and they're going through, this is what I might want to do. And I think from our end, it's about being in touch with our Will colleagues to kind of then realize, okay, that seems more of an undergraduate type style internship. Asking the partner, are they happy to be diverted to them? Most of the time, they are, but then it's then a task for them to go back to think about some more research related activities that they might offer. We used to, under University of Adelaide, sort of have our internship projects available on the website, and that was and Doreen's probably nodding, because that was really useful for new partners to have a look at how what type of scope of activities or research and development tasks they might offer. Something we're working towards is just having a bit of a template style sheet to show partners what kind of things can a research student do. Just some very, very broad, because I know research is specific, in all different areas, but just some broad. But yes, happens all the time. And then it goes the other way. We have a Will Central team. They have an online web form, but they've included, us in it, where the partner can actually tick, yes, I'm interested in research. And the process that currently happens now is they'll fill out the form, it goes through to Central, the manager there knows about what we do as part of PhD, and she will then forward that form not only to a specific undergraduate team, but also through to graduate research internships, for then myself to contact the partner directly from a research perspective.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I find that one line that I always find it quite useful to talk to industry partner to explain what is research and non-research internship, is that non-research internship is to apply knowledge that you already know, and research internship is to create new knowledge that you don't have. So it feels like it's quite easy for them to understand for any different industries. So yeah, I feel like this works magic for us.
I was just going to say, one of the things I really like about the National Industry PhD program is it just has a requirement that the partner organisation must undertake research and development. So, and I think that's not to say that a lot of the partners that the respective Will teams work with don't, but I think this is the good turning point. If the cutting off point for us, if there is a history of research and development with the organisation, and that's something that we're currently, as Polly said, we are doing this, as you all are, manually researching, but would like to be able to automate this a little bit more moving forward.
It kind of strikes me as sorry, Nila.
Sorry, I'm just saying we're at time now, so those people who need to go, please feel free to. Yeah.
I was going to say, I feel like there's an element as well where maybe HDRs can be disadvantaged by that a little bit as well, because there may be opportunities for them to do particular projects which are designed for undergrads or at a lower level. They might want those opportunities still to take that HDR perspective to something which is, you get a different result there. where you might there might be more opportunities there for an HDR to apply themselves differently to that problem, or more in depth, or get a better outcome. So
we had a good example. Sorry to cut someone off there. We had a good example recently working collaboratively with our undergraduate engineering cohort, where we had an industry partner in a wildlife setting that wanted to engage a PhD research intern to do some like scoping for sort of like best practice standards for certain type of like marsupial animal care. I'm going to butcher what the research project was. I'm so sorry, but a sort of literature review and analysis of what was happening in the sector, etc. And then they actually took that internship and formed it into an undergraduate engineering applied project, where fourth year engineering students then took these findings and formed them into this sort of little build project. So it was a real good opportunity for us to work collaboratively with an industry partner, and they just had that singular point of contact, but that sort of continuity of a project from that high-end R&D down to the actual on-the-ground deliverable. So it's a really nice example of that in practice, working with undergraduate.
absolutely.
Sorry, do you mind if I ask a very quick question? Hopefully it's just a yes or no answer to Jody and Locke. Thank you so much for sharing the fascinating functions of your systems. And I always think that, you know, how well a system works for us depending on how much time you spend to build a system, right? Is there a tech support team that provides the help that you need to build the system that's specifically for HDR in your university? Because at Flinders, there's none.
Yes, we have a Sonia sort of administrator team, and that's how I was involved with that team. So that was a real advantage for our graduate research school, is I was that person
difference.
And then came across into this space. Yeah. So it's really, it was essential for our success.
I think that makes a huge difference if you have someone who builds something that is for your use, specifically for HDR. Okay, over to you, Simon, to handle the rest of this. Do we have anything else to discuss?
Unless anyone's got any more questions, I mean, I'm happy to hang around for a few more minutes if people have more questions. But you know, I think that's been a really great session personally. If people have look, I would love it if the future iterations of this meeting kind of go along those lines. I think it's really great hearing from examples that are common to all of us, but seeing how different universities handle them. So please, if anyone's got any ideas on what they would like to share with these kinds of ideas, please get in contact with me and Nilla. I think it's exactly the kind of stuff that this COP should be doing. So I'll draw it to a close. Thank you, everybody. That was awesome. Thanks to all of our speakers. And please feel free to get in touch and put stuff on the LinkedIn group and all of that. Okay. Thank you. It was great.
Shall we expect our next meeting to be around November?
Yeah, I think so.
We'll get in touch. Yeah.
Yeah, be the last one of the year. We'll send some comms out. If anyone's going to be at ARMS, we will try and organize a catch up one day there. Okay. So
thank you.
Yeah, cool.
Oh, sorry.
Thanks, everybody.
Sorry. Simon,
Catherine,
you're presenting at ARMS, aren't you?
Yeah, I am. Yep. And me and Mitch are co-presenting, and Arthur as well. Yep.
Yeah, we were wondering, would you mind, like we can't make it to ARMS this year, Shastra and I. Were you planning on doing like a test run through to the group or afterwards perhaps to share
I
what
wasn't
you've
planning
learned?
on doing one of the group. I've got to write the presentation first, so I'm just not sure.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I'll probably do something. Yeah. I can. Yeah, we can do something. Yep, we can work it out.
I'm just giving you ideas. We'd love to hear from it afterwards, even.
Yep, for sure. Okay, cool.
Great suggestion, Catherine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Give you more pressure, Simon.
No pressure, but it was just great to hear.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That'd be fine. Cool. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone.